Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed that deck tech. We're here for round one with a daily event featuring Dustin Taylor's Sultai Reanimator. It's technically 4-color. Tarka's pretty sweet with Whip of Erebos, but we won the die roll and we're going to be on the play. Well, this hand is pretty reasonable. We have a couple mana accelerators, so we'll also be able to hit our land drops thanks to the Scryland and Satyr Wayfinder. And if we draw an untapped land in the first few draws, we can place a DC on 3 and start putting some pressure on him. Well, Thoughtseize isn't a bad draw, but I think we really want to hit an untapped land so we can curve in this DC. We may regret bottoming the Thoughtseize depending if he's playing a control deck or not, but more often than not, when we have a mana accelerator, the Thoughtseize isn't entirely necessary. Well, I'm just going to play this Sylvan Carotid and hope. If we miss on the land for our draw step next turn, we can just play the Satyr Wayfinder. But alright, well, we missed. And if we hit an untapped land, let's see, 3, 4, 5. Well, we missed all the lands. That's pretty awkward, and we lost both of our Whips of Erebos. Okay, well, let's pass the turn since we can't cast Tasigur. If we had hit a fetch land off of that, then we could have actually cast Tasigur that turn. That would have been pretty sweet. I'm actually going to take the 3 here instead of just chumping with Wayfinder. A lot of times I think you want to chump to fuel Delve, but I think since we do have Sidisi in our deck, that's not... we have big Sidisi. Huh, well, that's an Anafenza. Alright, well, we still want to try to hit land drops, so we're going to Satyr Wayfinder again, hope to hit. Well, we hit a Pluto Delta. The Sidisi is going to get exiled, and Anafenza actually just breaks off little Sidisi anyway. So I think we're just going to cast Sylvan Carotid and then play Sidisi on. Hope to draw another land, play Sidisi Undead Vizier next turn, and then get Murderous Cut for Anafenza. That way we can actually start doing something. Or we could potentially just go get something bigger. It's possible we want to cast Tasigur, but I assume it's just going to die when we cast it. Now if he taps out for Siege Rhino or Sorin or something, then we get to have the tutor effect. Alright, well now I'm in the mood for some chump blocking, I guess. Jeez. Siraxty Nasty. Well, we stumbled a little bit this game, so we are getting hit pretty hard. And if he has an Abzan Charm or Hero's Downfall, then we are basically dead. We can tutor for a land, actually, and then play Tasigur and Sidisi. I think I'm going to do that. We are likely still going to die, though. Well, maybe we should attack first with Satyr Wayfinder. We can also just sacrifice Sylvan Carotid. That way we have an extra blocker with Satyr Wayfinder in case he plays a Siege Rhino. We have another chumper. Yeah, I think I actually just have to sack Sylvan Carotid and unfortunately have to just go get an untapped land. Alright, well, we're going to sack a Carotid. I'm not sure if this is correct, but I want to try to not die as much as possible. If we had drawn a land, we could have got Murderous Cut, and that would have been kind of sweet. Kind of wish I had that Thoughtseize, but missing on the Wayfinder was... Well, that's basically the way this deck loses sometimes. You just miss. Which land do we want to get? I guess an Urborg of our own. I'm okay with that. Alright. Well, let's hope we don't die. Right now we have a reasonable defense, but again, if he has Abzan Charm or Downfall, he can kill the big Sidisi. He can also just put a counter on Sirac, so we have to block it with Sidisi to kill it. I mean, there are a number of ways we're likely going to lose this game. He still has 5 cards in hand. Xanafenza alone bricks off basically my entire hand. Our draw this game was not very good. It's not looking great for this here standard Spotlight deck. Alright, well he does have Siege Rhino, so let's see how he moves his counters around with the Anafenza and figure out our blocks from there. We basically have to put Sidisi onto the Siege Rhino, I think, if he puts a counter on it. And then we can put Tasigur on top of Serac. And Sideboarding Wayfinder can just chump block one of these guys, and we'll go to 1. Let's figure it out. I think this is actually a bad attack from him, and obviously he could have another Siege Rhino in hand, and he just wants to put us into range of dying from that. But depending on how he places his counter, that'll allow us to figure out how to block. Because if he puts it on Fleecemane Land, Sidisi blocks that. Satyr Wayfinder chump blocks Serac, and Tasigur blocks Anafenza, and then we take 4. Something like that. We also don't mind trading off our Tasigur with a guy, especially if it's Serac, so we get to kill it, just because it does give his guys haste, so it'll be a little harder to keep up. Alright, so he does put it on Siege Rhino. That's actually great. Alright, so we'll Sidisi there. Tasigur, we're going to eat the Fleecemane, I think. And then chump Serac. Actually, it might be better to eat the Anafenza and then chump Serac. That way we get to turn on our Sidisi. Yeah, I actually like that better. And we're going to go to 1, so we're dead to Siege Rhino and the like. But now at least we get to play the Brood Tyrant. Maybe make a zombie? Yeah, made a zombie. Hit a Satyr Wayfinder. And we actually can afford to attack here. If he has a Siege Rhino, we're dead anyway. And we're basically just chump blocking with Sylvan Keratin and Zombie. We can pressure him for 8. We could maybe hold back the Sidisi and just attack with Tasigur, or vice versa. I think we want to hold back Sidisi since she is big enough to block a monstrous Fleecemane Lion if he so chooses to go land monstrous, but more than likely he's just going to play a second Siege Rhino, because they always have a second Siege Rhino. Wingmate Rock is also a possibility, since it'll just have flying, and then Serac can give it haste and attack me for 3 in the air. Would love to draw Murder's Cut, or would have loved to. Might be too late now. Alright, another Anafenza. We could have maybe done something about, or assumed that that was the case, that he might have, since he didn't play removal spell last turn to kill us, he didn't, or not kill us, but to basically crush our game plan. He had a bunch of cards stuck in hand. It's possible he just has like more Anafenzas. Maybe there's a Death Dealer. Alright, well, we can actually crush this attack as well if he decides to, and he does not. Alright, well, since we have this Sidisi and this Tasigur, I think what we want to do is attack with Tasigur and the Brood Tyrant, and just let him eat the Sidisi. Oh wait, no, never mind. He played the second Anafenza, so that is not that relevant. So I think we want to play this, or attack with this Tasigur, hope that he trades off with it, but likely he's just going to take it. But then we can use Tasigur's ability, play the second one, or I guess, no, I was going to try to activate the ability, but he's just going to give me the one that's in the graveyard. So I guess it's like it has Virtual Vigilance if that's the case, so that's not so bad. And we get that Wayfinder out of the graveyard, so we don't Tasker delve that back. Alright, so let's pay 2 for Tasker and exile everything except one of the Whips of Erebos. So we do want the whip back. And I'll keep this Tasker. And just pass turn. Ooh, actually, that's sweet. I forgot. Yeah, so we don't get stuck with the Tasker. The Anafenza exiled it, so might be able to get whip back, play it, and then start gaining a bunch of life. That'd be sweet. Well, he's fetching a second plains here, so that means it's probably Wingmate Rock. Oh, second forest. Maybe it's Whisperwood Elemental. I don't know. Or maybe he just wants to be able to threaten with the Death Dealer. A lot of stuff to think about here. Our game plan at this moment is entirely reactive. We're just trying to weather the storm, hopefully in 1 or 2 Tasker activations, get back a Whip of Erebos. Luckily, we can hit a land or creature, and then we'll be able to get the whip back, which is pretty great. Likely going to chump block the Death Dealer with the zombie, assuming he just attacks and doesn't do anything. May also just monstrous his Fleecemane line. Alright, well he opts to attack with everything, and now we have to figure out how to do this. Maybe that means he has Abzan Charm. Well, at the very least... Alright, let's try to figure this out. So, I'm going to start by activating Tasker, and that'll give us some more information on how to block. Yeah, Thoughtseize not going to help very much. Okay, well, start with Sidisi on Fleecemane Lion, since that'll force him to activate that. I'm going to put this Sidisi onto the Rakshasa Death Dealer, since we have the backup. Tasker here, and then Zombie here. Now, if we do this, we can't die to trample damage, since he doesn't have any trample. So something like Abzan Charm removing a blocker won't beat us. We potentially get to eat his Anafenza, and then we either get to trade off Death Dealer or eat Fleecemane Lion. So he can also pump Death Dealer and then play Abzan Charm. So this could be bad. He could also Abzan Charm, putting a counter on Anafenza and Death Dealer, eat the Tasker and the Sidisi, and then lose his Lion, and we'll be left with just Caryatid and Sidisi, Undead Vizier, versus Serac, Anafenza, and then Rakshasa Death Dealer. So it's actually pretty bad for us if he has Abzan Charm. I'm not sure if we could have blocked to make that less impactful. Maybe just putting Undead Vizier on Anafenza, but basically I wanted to force him to use his Fleecemane Lion's Monstrous, and then he wouldn't be able to pump Death Dealer. And this block plays around just about... it plays against his onboard and doesn't play around stuff that's in his hand. Alright, well he's opting to exile Sidisi, and then I assume he's going to pump Death Dealer. So we get to eat his Anafenza, but then we get to play another Sidisi after that, so it's not so bad. 4. Alright, well we can't activate Tasker and play Sidisi, unfortunately. So we'll just play that, make a token for chumping purposes if we hit and we missed. I suppose we could have templed first and bottomed a non-creature, but we're basically dead here. We just have to double chump and trade, and he's going to be left with a Death Dealer. Okay, now we're dead. Yeah, that was a pretty bad spot to be in if he had a spell. A creature would have been fine. We could have just chumped with Caryatid and made our blocks a lot easier. The Abzan Charm was pretty devastating though. Our draw was not great. We stumbled a lot in the early game, so Alright, well, I really dislike Thoughtseize against other green decks after board, so we're going to cut those. Merciless Executioner seems pretty sweet. He doesn't have any enchantments, really, so Reclamation Sage can sit out. Hornet Queen seems great. I think the games are going to go long, so Treasure Cruise is probably awesome. And I think we're going to be playing a lot of defense, so I'm going to cut this Torn Elemental. And Soul of Innistrad actually seems pretty decent. Giant Death Touch guy is fine, but the fact that I can just mill over him and get back 3 of my creatures that are either dying from removal or trading off in combat is good. Let's see. I don't think we want Disdainful Stroke. He does have like Siege Rhino and Serac and probably either Sorin or what's the other card? Wingmate Rock. And he also might have Elspeth in the sideboard as an alternate game plan. And also it's Tasigur. But I think the way you win these kind of matchups is just use your mana every single turn. I think Freaka is also good in that regard. So now we just have to cut something. Honestly, thinking about cutting a Sylvan Caryatid, I don't know if it's all that great in this matchup. Getting to ramp is good, but Sylvan Caryatid really shines in matchups where he can also do some blocking, and this is not a matchup where Sylvan Caryatid gets to block, unfortunately. Or at least doesn't get to block and survive. All these other cards are good, though. Since we're on the play, I think we'll keep the Sylvan Caryatid, since we can play a turn 3 Sidisi on the play, and that gets under his Anafenza. All these other cards are great. Huh. I'm going to cut a Caryatid. Alright, well, let's go to game 2. Alright, we get to be on the play. Well, this might be a little painful, but I think we keep it. It looks pretty good to me. I'm going to lead with the island in case we draw a forest or a green source that's not Mana Confluence. And then probably just go Caryatid into Courser, depending on what he does or how our next few draws turn out. Oh, alright. The reason why we Caryatid over Wayfinder is because, well, now that we've drawn Sidisi, we want to wait till we have Sidisi in play before we Wayfinder, if at all possible. But mostly, we want to just like curve out naturally, and if we hit a land off of this Courser, that would be sweet. Right, so we miss, but next turn we'll also have, we'll get to look at the top card of our deck. If it's a land, we can play it before playing the Wayfinder. We can also just cast a DC. Got a lot of options. Basically just trying to hit our land drop so that we get to cast Atarka or Whip. Or I guess Hornet Queen. Warden of the First Tree. That could be problematic. This guy having trample is pretty gross, but it's going to take that a little while to get online. Basically, just he has to hit 6 lands naturally since they don't play any sort of mana acceleration. So, get at least 3 more turns. He should have attacked with Death Dealer first, even if he's going to play. Oh, well, that's pretty good. All right, well, we lose our Courser, which stinks, but well, I really want to play Wayfinder to make sure we hit our land drops, but missing out on a Sidisi while he's tapped out, I think, is too big. So hopefully we hit. If we miss, that would be pretty gross. Yeah, and we missed, and we milled over 2 lands, so not drawing well, not hitting well on our cards. I was playing this deck a little bit before the video, and my draws were much better. It's the second time we've missed on Sidisi, and we've already missed on a Wayfinder in 2 games. But, I mean, that kind of just happens with decks like these. Alright, well now we desperately need to draw a Murderous Cut. Well, we have a land drop this turn, so we don't need to Wayfinder, and I think using our mana more efficiently with the Whip of Erebos is better. Alright, well, we'll keep that on top. If we can survive to Hornet Queen or Tarka, we should be in reasonable shape. So next turn what we're going to do, more than likely, is play Wayfinder. Yeah, well, we're just going to take 1,000,000 damage this turn. So this is 4. If he pumps this, we can't block because he can just pump Death Dealer. He can also just pump Warden of the First Tree to a 4/4. It'll be a base 3/3 with the counter on it from the Anafenza. It's possible I should have just bottomed the Yavimaya Coast because I already have a Wayfinder to hit 1 land, but our game plan right now just revolves around these 7 drops, and if we aren't able to get to them, then we're going to die. So, alright, next turn we can do some blocking though. Maybe we'll hit a land. Alright, we did hit a land, and all these creatures get exiled from the Anafenza. So now we basically just have to double chump with Sidisi and Wayfinder. I can attack and gain 3, but I don't think I can afford to do that. I'm kind of hoping he just never draws another black mana, and he just has a bunch of downfalls stuck in hand. Yep. Well, now we have to chump block with our Sylvan Caryatid. I think that's game. Yeah, because we're not going to be able to do anything next turn. I guess we could maybe draw Dragon Lord Salumgar. Yeah, so we can make this these two a 5/5. I guess we just block here and here. Hope he has nothing at all. I don't know, even if this matchup does not feel great. Anafenza is very, very strong against the DC based decks. So I think we're just dead regardless. Yep. Like we can whip back Courser, go to 4 and play Wayfinder, but that's not enough to save us, I don't think. Because he can, yeah, I mean, plus he's still representing Abzan Charm, so it's not like anything we did would matter all that much. So, alright, I guess I'll keep doing this. I don't know. Maybe he'll mess up. I really doubt it. Alright, Tasker on top. Go up to 3. But then we have to go back down to 2. And we missed again. Cool. Alright, a little bit of rubbins. Alright, well that was game 1. We're just dead on board. No use making him waste a bunch of clock. The deck struggles obviously against Anafenza the foremost. I think the other mid-range matchups against other Sultai decks or other Abzan mid-range or control decks is pretty strong. We have a lot of desirable effects in our main deck and sideboard against those types of strategies, but when we don't draw a Murderous Cut, Anafenza just straight up beats us. There's not a whole lot that there is to be done about it. We will be back shortly for round 2, and we'll see you then.